There are clearly a lot of problems with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but the Blade movie has been in production hell ever since it was announced. It's gone through 5 different writers and 2 different directors, and now once again, they're rebuilding it from the ground up after the lead actor, Mahershala Ali, who was announced as Blade years ago, nearly left the project. And now we're finding out more about why that happened, why it was such a behind-the-scenes disaster, and that in fact, in typical MCU fashion, they didn't want to make it all about Blade. Instead, they wanted to make the movie all about strong, powerful women and life lessons. One person familiar with the Blade script changes says the story at one point morphed into a narrative led by women and filled with life lessons, with Mahershala Ali's Blade relegated to the 4th lead. Well, now we're getting some more information specifically about the Blade project, how accurate that report is, including the fact that the executive that was in charge of this has been fired by Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige pissed, fires Marvel executive. And let's get into this thing from Bounding into Comics. Marvel executive behind Blade reportedly fired because he didn't sound the alarm of the film's abysmal direction. It's one of the few times anyone's actually heard Kevin Feige yell at someone. In a development which, if true, would be one of the most surprising things to come out of the MCU in recent memory, a new report has claimed the Marvel exec responsible for their Blade reboot has been sacked for intentionally lying to studio boss Kevin Feige about how truly disastrous the film was shaping up to be. Now, we've heard so many different things start to come out about Marvel, this big variety piece that dropped. I personally think that a lot of this stuff is meant to shield Kevin Feige a little bit, if I'm being really honest. It seems like all the time it's like, well, Kevin Feige, he heard about this and he tried to fix it. Oh, Kevin Feige, he didn't know this was as bad as it was. It's interesting that all these things kind of shield Kevin Feige from the majority of the criticism. Just wanted to point that out. I think that's interesting. After years of it being in production hell and us hearing about it going into production, going out of production, being delayed, new writer, new director, blah, 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 this is what was in that Variety article. As public criticism mounts, Feige's pulling the plug on scripts and projects that aren't working. Case in point, the Blade reboot. With Mahershala Ali signed on, things look promising for a 2023 release date. But the project has gone through 5 writers, 2 directors, and 1 shutdown 6 weeks before production. One person familiar says the story at one point morphed into a narrative led by women and filled with life lessons. Blade was relegated to the 4th lead, a bizarre idea considering the studio had 2-time Oscar winner Ali on board. Now, Jeff Snyder, who, is Hollywood insider, sometimes comes out with scoops or information on all of this stuff. He reached out to get some information about this report, and what he found out was that the person that has been in charge of this entire thing apparently is not with Marvel anymore. Speaking on the topic of Blade during the November 1st episode of the Hot Mic Live show, Snyder informed his co-host while he's unsure if Siegel's description of the film's current state was 100% accurate, he was aware the executive who was working on Blade basically tried to obscure what was going to be in this draft from the film's writer, Stacey Osei Kuffour. To be fair, we've also had somebody else who apparently was working as a writer on Blade at one point in time and said, well, nothing like this was ever in any drafts I looked at. And now we hear info that one of the execs involved from this specific draft from this writer was trying to hide potentially what was going to go into this movie. And I'm told that he was fired. Another source said it was parting ways. I pushed back because I'm like, who leaves Marvel? It's a dream job for most geek executives. I don't think a lot of people are leaving on their own accord. My source said, and Marvel didn't comment on anything, but they said it's one of the few times they've actually heard Kevin Feige yell at someone. That was the quote. We could change that to raised voice, but it was one of the few times this individual had ever heard Kevin raise his voice. So the executive on Blade, who I'm not going to name, you can maybe figure out who it is no longer with Marvel, and that is confirmed. He talks about how he actually called to try to speak to that person, and they said they've left the company until saying, well, actually, I think they're just working somewhere else right now, but we can't really get you to them right now. Some bullshit excuse. That's what Jeff Snyder is claiming when he called to talk to this person. That's why he can confirm that they're no longer with Marvel. Now, he did also say, talking to his people, that he couldn't get 100% confirmation that the script was just going to be about like 3 powerful women, that Blade was going to be the 4th lead. Although he did say it sounds like there was going to be a bigger focus on women, but maybe not the whole Blade is no longer a lead character type of thing. But he also says he's not necessarily talking to the same people that the author of this Variety article did. What an absolute nightmare. So now the person that was behind all this, the person who apparently may have actually been helping try to slip some of this stuff into the Blade movie, apparently they've been fired. Now, like I said in the beginning, I wonder about a lot of these reports that seem to push so much of the blame away from Kevin Feige. It's just very interesting to me how that's so convenient, how that just happens to be the case, how Kevin Feige, well, I didn't know about that till now, and then I yelled at this person, they're no longer with the company. Must not have been Kevin Feige's fault other than like mismanagement. And on the other hand, if the script really wasn't as bad or whatever as they're saying, then why would this person get fired? Why would this person get fired for that if it really wasn't as bad as we're hearing? Very interesting things continue to come out of Marvel. Kevin Feige not happy. Kevin Feige firing people, and Blade is a total nightmare. Another thing he said was he doubts this thing could get made for less than $100 million. I agree, especially with all the time they've already put into it. $100 million budget seems laughably impossible for what Marvel is doing right now. But what do you guys think? Let me know about it in the comments section below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.